Tonight on the Northwestern News Report, the latest updates on the Noyes Street sexual assault case. We tell you what happened and the progress of the investigation.
Searching for the sun, how students put on their glasses to celebrate the moon's rare trip over the planet.
And playing their own tune, how a new organization puts non-major musicians together in the spotlight.
All that and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news
right now.
Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Aria Wozniak.
And I'm Jeremy Fredericks. We're excited to be in our brand new studio on the 4th floor of the McCormick Foundation Center for the first time. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Did you look up? A total solar eclipse could be seen throughout North America yesterday, capturing the attention of Northwestern students and Evanston residents alike. Students flocked to the Lakeville, Deering Meadow, and North Beach to observe this rare event. While Northwestern was not in the path of totality, the eclipse reached its peak in the Chicago area at 2:07 p.m., with the moon covering about 94% of the sun. The city of Evanston also hosted viewing events at the Robert Crown Turf Fields and Ingram Park and Northwestern. Meanwhile, admitted students visiting campus for Wildcat Days were given a pair of eclipse glasses. As exciting as that may seem, it was certainly eclipsed by students who traveled to neighboring states to view the eclipse in totality. NNN's Sabrina Carson has more.
Look at that! Oh man!
A rare astronomical phenomena worth traveling for.
We're all gonna go to Effingham, Illinois, which is in the path of totality.
Evelyn Discroll is one of many students leaving Evanston to view the solar eclipse in totality.
So I'm not usually like a big like eclipse or like sky or astronomy person, but it's kind of more of like a friend and bonding thing, and I'm very excited.
The reason students left town, Evanston was not in the line of totality, only showing 94% of the celestial spectacle.
A partial solar eclipse is when the moon only blocks part of the sun, whereas a total solar eclipse is when the moon and the sun on the sky perfectly overlap.
While many made plans months in advance, others waited patiently, hoping to avoid undesirable weather that might block their view.
We have people who will be traveling close to the eclipse a few days out, all the way to the same day as the eclipse, trying to find those clear skies.
Some students traveling in hopes of raising their grade.
I'm giving extra credit to all of my students who are making the extra effort to go and see the total solar eclipse.
While others hoped simply to experience celestial history.
The more we can think about it, we can think about how like special and non-random everything happens on Earth is, and like how cool that is that we get to be a part of that and we get to witness that.
From the path of totality, Sabrina Carson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Sabrina. According to scientists, a total solar eclipse will not be visible again in the U.S. until August 2044. The next eclipse near Evanston won't occur until 2099, in which totality will be achieved.
Flavored tobacco products are no longer available for sale at stores in Evanston. I went to businesses downtown to learn more about the newly enforced restrictions.
Evanston is the first city in Illinois to ban the sale of menthol and flavored tobacco products. The ordinance went into effect on April 1st. While it was designed with public health in mind, some stores say it will hurt their business.
We were profiting really well off of it. A lot of people love the Elf bars, even the Jewel pods.
Vapes, loose tobacco, flavored cigarettes, Zins, and rolling papers are among the banned products. The ordinance does not penalize individual possession or usage, and tobacco and nicotine products can be purchased outside Evanston without violating the restrictions.
We have lost a lot of customers and our sales have gone tremendously down, but we support the cause.
Noyes that violate the ban are subject to fines ranging from $500 to $2,500. The effects of this ban will be difficult for D&Ds, as the Noyes L train stop brings a noticeable amount of customers interested in purchasing nicotine.
Their suggestion was ask our distributor to take a refund, but I don't know one distributor that will take a refund on tobacco.
It's a bitter pill to swallow for businesses in Evanston.
This new ordinance includes an inspection by Health and Human Services at least once a year.
Evanston City Council held discussions on a proposed grant application for a temporary migrant shelter last night. The grant, allocated by Cook County, would fund the conversion of an existing building and operation of the temporary shelter. Connections for the Homeless, a local nonprofit, is a candidate for operating the potential shelter, and other organizations are also interested in the project. The Civic Center or vacant office building on Church Street are potential shelters. However, both require significant renovations before they could be occupied. During the meeting, council members expressed some concern over the lack of a specified location and amount of desired grant money. According to Mayor Daniel Biss, there may be a special meeting or public memo about the proposed temporary shelter before grant applications are due on April 19th. Plans for the temporary shelter are currently in the early stages. We'll keep you updated as the situation progresses.
Anti-LGBTQ protesters took to the Arch Thursday afternoon to protest what they called the ravages of LGBT ideology. The protesters were a part of a Catholic group known as the TFP, or Tradition Family Property. They claim they are on a nationwide tour of college campuses, staging protests. Some students voiced their opposition to the protest.
This does not represent Northwestern or the general student base at Northwestern, and that it's not really worth disagreeing with them because they're not interested in actual conversation.
The protest lasted roughly an hour. Afterwards, the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center offered a safe space for students impacted.
Evanston police announced last week the arrest of a man accused of sexually assaulting a young woman inside her apartment building during winter quarter. NNN's Lance Wilhelm has been following the story. He's outside the apartment building on the 800 block of Noyes Street, where this incident occurred, with more. Lance?
That's right, Jeremy, and we actually spoke to the victim of the alleged assault, and although she asked to remain anonymous, we can confirm that she is a Northwestern student. And what she says happened the night of February 27th was she was walking home from a friend's house around 10:30 p.m. while actually talking on the phone with another friend who was actually in her apartment building at the time of the alleged assault. And she says she entered her building just like she normally would by typing in a key code bypassing the locked door. And that's when she says the alleged assaulter snuck in behind her and followed her into a stairwell where she says he groped her and covered her mouth. The friend on the phone then heard the commotion and came into the stairwell, scaring the man off. Now, a lot of this was caught on security camera footage, which was then handed off to detectives who are continuing to use it in their investigation. Jeremy?
Thanks, Lance. Aria, you've been following the investigation into a Northwestern sexual assault case. Tell us more about what you've learned in recent days.
Well, Jeremy, I've actually been in touch with the victim. Now, what she could tell me is this man has been detained. This Northwestern student emphasized the support she felt by the detective on the case and said that she doesn't feel uncomfortable or unsafe walking alone at night or staying in her building, although she is much more wary.
And what have we learned about the suspect?
So the suspect, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, reviewed the investigation and approved one felony count of criminal sexual abuse by force. This man, who we've identified as Carlos E. Scott, is currently in Cook County Jail, and his next court date is April 18th at the Skokie Courthouse.
And he has a history, right?
Yes, so Scott has a history and is a registered sex offender and respondent of an order of protection or stalking no contact order under the Lake County Circuit docket.
Is there any other information that off-campus students should know surrounding public safety?
There actually is. I'm investigating a string of break-ins on Garnett Street, so I'm reporting on a public safety issue on off-campus housing areas that'll come more next week, and we'll continue keeping our viewers on the April 18th hearing as it approaches.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Thanks, Aria.
Coming up, join the fun. Take a peek into a children's event that makes STEM more accessible through carnival games.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at LAS Studios.
My narrative, since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition, has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back. The new contract between Northwestern and the Graduate Workers Union, NUGW, doesn't cover healthcare for grad students' dependents. I have more on why this issue has left the union divided.
It's still raw, to put it lightly.
Grad student Charles Logan is a father of 3. He's been pushing for Northwestern to cover healthcare for grad students' dependents, but that's not part of the new contract between NUGW and NU.
Union leadership heard loud and clear that dependent health insurance coverage was very important. We had communicated that in a number of different avenues in different ways, and yet it was not on the table.
Logan led a referendum petition to include healthcare coverage for grad students' spouses, kids, and other dependents. It was never brought to a vote.
We had this democratic process that, when ignored, leads to feelings of betrayal.
NUGW's bylaws say that if a petition is signed by 10% of the union members and verified by leadership, it will be brought up for discussion at the next general membership meeting.
You're supposed to hold that referendum at the next general membership meeting. Leadership just didn't do it.
Jake Cohen is the secretary of NUGW. He was responsible for verifying that the petition was signed by at least 10% of the union. Cohen says it hit that mark on February 9th.
But then people started pulling their name off the referendum list.
Cohen says NU had already told NUGW that covering dependent healthcare was a, quote, non-starter.
It was not going to happen regardless.
There were also concerns about the timing. An agreement on medical benefits was reached during a February 1st bargaining session, but dependent healthcare wasn't included. When the referendum petition was signed on February 9th, it gave NUGW less than 2 weeks before the final bargaining session with the university.
So by the time we would have had this referendum, which would have impeded the ability of the bargaining committee to make further progress, we would have already been at the point of our last bargaining session where we reached the entire tentative agreement.
Dependent healthcare hasn't been covered before. Without it, Logan will have to spend $15,000 on premiums for his family.
Not having this dependent health insurance support is a real barrier to live a kind of life that I'd like to.
We reached out to a Northwestern spokesperson for comment on the idea that dependent healthcare was a, quote, non-starter. We didn't hear back before airtime.
A fresh update is coming to Norris, with Northwestern announcing renovations to the Student Hub's East Lawn. The renovations include a complete redesign of the East Lawn, to be named Cohen Lawn, a rooftop patio, and the return of a pub on campus for the first time since 1992. The new spaces, designed with community wellness in mind, will also feature performance spaces for events ranging from live music to comedy nights. Renovations are scheduled to begin this summer, with completion set for summer of 2025.
It's now time for Under the Microscope, where we give you the latest in Northwestern science. One of Northwestern's own mineralogist, Professor Stephen Jacobson, has received funding from NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center to study the composition of lunar dust. Jacobson, who's a professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences at the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, will work to understand the exact composition of soil on the moon. That information will be used to design and build permanent structures on the moon, part of NASA's larger mission of a permanent lunar base.
In other intergalactic news, a team of astrophysicists at Northwestern, led by Lindenheimer postdoctoral fellow Sanaya Rose, investigated why some older stars in the Milky Way appear to be young. After simulating the intense collision of these stars in this region, researchers found that the surviving stars can lose mass or even merge with other stars. This can cause them to expand in size and provide a youthful appearance.
And in AI technology news, a team led by Northwestern's Chair of Mechanical Engineering, Wei Chen, has developed a promising framework that could boost the functionality of programmable material systems, also known as stimuli-sensitive smart materials. These systems, called PMS, are used in devices like surgical robots and deployment satellites to water harvesting technology. There are many possible customizations for these devices. The team's research focuses on expediting the customization and further advancement of devices within built-in intelligence. Chen says they have broadened the horizon of AI for design.
The Evanston Public Library hosted the 5th annual Cardboard Carnival Community Showcase Saturday. NNN's Lena Peterson was there to see how creating carnival games makes STEM more accessible to Evanston youth.
Evanston middle schoolers sharing their arcade-style cardboard games with the community. The challenge encourages students to think outside the box.
I had to make a pinball board out of a cardboard box that I cut out, and then I added these this rubber band right here for bumpers, and I used these wooden miniature baseball bats to make the flippers.
Cardboard, bringing together more than 275 community members.
I think it's a great community builder. I've seen a lot of kids making friends here. I also think it's a really cool place for people to be able to show off what they know and really show that anybody can be part of this, anybody can be part of the STEM community.
And inspiring students to be inventive.
I think it's the experience of getting to create something. Yeah, it's really fun.
A hands-on approach to teaching coding and engineering.
Everything we do is absolutely free. And so we're just trying to make sure that we fill that gap. And so a lot of students, just don't have access to free STEM programming.
Making STEM programs more accessible by providing students with materials and mentorship to bring their games to life.
A lot of my work also focuses on making sure that BIPOC students get access to STEM programs and girl identifying youth, because there's a big hole when it comes into the STEM pipeline.
And organizers hope to expand this program into school curriculum in the future. Lena Peterson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Lena.
A last-minute reversal by Parks and Recreation Board member Mary Rosinski has halted a proposal to offer e-bike, beach chair, and umbrella rentals at 2 Evanston lakefront beaches this summer. Despite initial approval of a 2024 pilot project, concerns were raised about the program's impact on beach space. The proposal, operated by Bike and Roll Chicago, would offer lounge chairs, umbrellas, and e-bike rentals to beachgoers. The future of the proposal remains uncertain, with staff now focusing on offering these rentals solely at Clark Street Beach. 3 proposals were brought up at the Evanston City Council meeting last night for consideration, including providing 1 large specific rental section, 2 small specific rental sections, and allowing users to take their chairs and umbrella anywhere on the sand.
Speaking of the beach, temperatures over the next few days may be warm enough to bring NU students into the water. NNN's Alicia Tang has more on this week's weather.
Thanks, Aria and Jeremy. I doubt this week's weather report will eclipse yesterday's events, but here's what you can look forward to. It's pretty sunny here in Evanston with a high of 60 and low of 44. Now tomorrow might look the same in terms of temperature, but there will be a few more clouds, so please enjoy the Lakeville while you can. This week's rainy Thursday isn't a far departure from the weather we know but don't necessarily love. You can expect a high of 51 and low of 44 with scattered showers throughout. Well, at least this week's April showers doesn't mean snow, as anyone who encountered sleet last Wednesday can attest. The sun is shining again on Friday with a high of 54 and low of 44. Saturday is barely warmer with a high of 61 and low of 51. And you might see faster wind speeds on Sunday, but it comes with a high of 60. Not exactly beach weather, but I'll warm up to it. That's all the time we have for weather right now. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Alicia. After the break, a new harmonious group brings together passionate non-music majors.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at LAist Studios.
My narrative since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back. A Northwestern theater senior is crafting a unique thesis project using masquerade masks to represent grief. NNN's Angela Zhang brings us more on why this exhibit and the artist's story is so special.
A grandfather who fell to a battle against cancer. A dear friend and 2 classmates who lost their lives to suicide. A friend's mother who was murdered. They are among the many people that 21-year-old Melia Tan has lost.
I wanted to find a way to embody those experiences.
Tan's senior thesis, Grief Unmasked, uses art to honor their grieving process.
Where words fail, art can follow, and art can fill in those gaps and, help people process things that otherwise they may not be able to word.
When they were deciding on grief as their topic, Tan found out that their father was diagnosed with cancer.
Luckily, he's good, but just having that fear of losing even more kind of made me realize, oh, I've already lost so much.
A reflection culminating in an exhibit of 8 masks, each representing a stage of grief. One of the masks, Bargaining, uses religious items like a cross and bargaining chips to remember Tan's grandfather.
Those aspects of the prayers and the bargaining and the wanting for him to get better but him never getting better was sort of crucial.
The reception took place this past Saturday at Studio 3 Evanston. Among those joining Tan was their professor.
It takes a lot to be that vulnerable with work, and I really admire that.
And their family members.
Melia was named after my best friend that passed away from a tragic car accident, and that's the last line in the dedication. It sort of makes me feel like it's come full circle.
Tan hopes their exhibit will help others process their own grief in their own way.
Being open with people about the experiences that you're having and the struggles that you're going through is going to help you a lot in your long run.
Showing that vulnerability is power. Angela Zhang, Northwestern News Network.
You can check out more details about Grief Unmasked at mayelatan.com.
Balancing school and song can be difficult for Northwestern student musicians not majoring in music. But now, thanks to a new student organization, they'll have a community space supporting them as they pursue their creative endeavors.
The bass bumping and the creativity flowing.
For junior CL McDaniels, music is his element.
Music is one of those things where it's so natural in the way I just like look at the world, because everything is so rhythmic to me, and like I just like my brain works on patterns and just the way that things interact, and I feel like music has always been my most natural way of expressing it.
But for student musicians not in the music school,
a lot of times your pursuit of music is just kind of this ambiguous track that you're not really sure on what steps to take.
That's why McDaniels decided to create Starlight, an organization dedicated to supporting and bringing together student musicians not majoring in music.
Fostering a space where that's like just much more like concise, and it's like an actual like networking community where people can find a way to be in place in the roles that they want to be.
Starlight seeks to support artists from all genres, using its platform to help grow their social media presence.
There can be someone who's like a singer, there could be someone who's a rapper from completely different worlds, and we could be using our budget to push short form content for each of them.
And in the sea of student organizations on campus, Starlight is using events such as the club fair to put a spotlight on their work.
What do you like about music, just in general?
Many interested students say it fills a gap on campus.
I've kind of been looking for music people around campus, and since I'm not in Benin, they have been really tough to come across.
McDaniels hopes Starlight's future will shine bright for those who need it even after he graduates.
I really want to see what it develops into and what it can evolve as.
Shooting the next generation of Northwestern student musicians into the spotlight. Raj Ganeker, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks to our Raj Ganeker. If you want to see what Starlight is doing as they get off the ground, you can follow them on Instagram at starlight.nu.
Turning now to sports, Northwestern's proposal for a temporary lakeside football stadium was found to be compliant with the city's zoning review minus a few conditions. A city official told NNN the city found issues with the proposed video board, lack of an event operations plan, and need for all improvements to comply with zoning and building code requirements. Once these changes are made, a second review will be conducted upon receipt of a building permit. This is expected to occur in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the Lake Show took a trip to College Park and took on the Terrapins in a matchup of the top two seeds. The Cats sought their first road win against Maryland, having last won there in Maryland in 2006. The Cats toppled the Terrapins, winning the matchup 17-9. The victory was highlighted by 6 goals from both grad student Izzy Skane and sophomore Madison Taylor. Junior Samantha Smith added 2 of her own. The top-ranked Cats are next in action on Saturday, April 13th in their Martin Stadium debut for the 2024 season. And coming up, diving behind the scenes into a production of The Little Mermaid that's making a splash.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at LAist Studios.
My narrative, since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition, has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Purple Crayon Players, a student-run theater group on campus, put a spin on The Little Mermaid this weekend. NNN's Fiona Bolzan is here with more.
The Purple Crayon Players production of The Little Mermaid took place this weekend in Shanley Pavilion.
I am from Puerto Rico, and Little Mermaid is also my favorite Disney princess, so I kind of wanted to clash those two things that I hold near and dear to my heart.
PCP was planning this performance for the fall, but rights issues postponed the production to the spring in a smaller venue.
Of course, McCormick was going to be a lot bigger, and we have a very big cast, and but we managed to make it work, so it'll be a fun, intimate Little Mermaid experience.
Despite the space change, the crew worked to make it the Little Mermaid they had envisioned from the beginning. The performance included a variety of Caribbean cultural elements from its diverse cast.
Biggest takeaways that I've gotten from that are my ability to be seen and heard and accepted for who I am.
In addition to leaning into the cast's cultural backgrounds, the show strayed from traditional gender norms, with Prince Eric being played by a woman and portrayed as non-binary, and King Triton becoming Queen Triton.
What felt most important to me is who could tell these stories, truthfully and with heart, and what they brought to the character, and both of them were just lovely.
As students worked together on the production, they found a community within the cast and crew.
Northwestern Student Theater has some of the best collaborators that I've been able to work with, and getting to become friends with a lot of these people has been the best part about the experience for sure.
Telling old stories in new ways, Fiona Bolzan, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Fiona. You can find more information about future Purple Crayon Players productions on their Instagram at Purple Crayon Players NU. Jeremy, have you seen The Little Mermaid?
No, but it looked like a great show.
Yeah, I hear their productions are amazing.
Honestly, it seems like every show on campus does a great job. I just saw Fusion this weekend.
We'll have to go to the next show they put on together. Give a little review.
Definitely. Well,
And that's all the time we have tonight. I'm Ario Wozniak.
And I'm Jeremy Fredericks. Have a great night.